Sun Wukong, the monkey who defied and fought against the gods. He who would go on to name himself the great sage, equal to heaven, eventually becoming an enlightened being that transcends reality. Hello fellow learners, and welcome back to Learnism, where we cover topics on philosophy, mythology, history, and more. Today's video will be on Sun Wukong, who is a very popular deity from Chinese mythology, and my personal favourite character in all of mythology. I hope by the end of this video, you love him just as much as I do, and make sure to stay tuned to the end so that you can participate in a fun quiz and see just how much you've learned today. Now let's get into the video. Sun Wukong is a main character in the novel Journey to the West, written in the 16th century. The novel is based on the travels of Xuanzang, a Chinese Buddhist who travelled to India in order to translate sacred Buddhist scriptures into Chinese, which would play a significant role in Buddhism within China at the time. The novel is centered around the three prominent religions within China at the time, which were Taoism, Confucianism, and Buddhism. While the story does show the religions as different, it still portrays them as being able to coherently exist together while simultaneously favouring Buddhism amongst the three. Throughout this video, I'll try to make references to the relevant religions and belief systems that may correlate with certain aspects of Sun Wukong's journey. The influence of Sun Wukong is wide-reaching, especially within popular media, with many stories and depictions of Wukong being made. One of the most popular portrayals of Wukong is within the Dragon Ball franchise as the main character Son Goku, which is the Japanese translation of Sun Wukong. The Monkey King's name translates to monkey awakened by the emptiness, representing his journey from being temperamental and pleasure-driven to eventually reaching a state of enlightenment. The Monkey King was born from a stone, which resided on a mountaintop where it was said to have received the truth of heaven, beauty of earth, the essence of the sun, and splendour of the moon since the beginning of creation. The nature of the things that essentially fed this stone contain yin and yang energy. This is what allowed the stone to produce a living organism, hence creating Wukong. Ultimately, the birth of Wukong is a Taoist concept, as Taoism focuses on the concepts of yin and yang and balance. After being born, he joins a group of monkeys, eventually becoming the king of this group. Wukong was very protective and caring towards his monkey subjects, and seemed to always look out for their best interest. Initially in Journey to the West, Wukong is portrayed as a desire-driven and impulsive individual, which would be no surprise if you've seen the behaviour of Goku within the Dragon Ball franchise. Wukong was an immensely powerful being, and this part of this video will look at the powers and weapons that made him so strong enough to effectively rebel against the heavens. Wukong realised the mortality of himself and his fellow subjects, following the death of one of the monkeys due to old age. In order to protect himself and his fellow monkeys, Wukong ventured out to seek immortality. He eventually comes across the great sage Puti-Zushi, whose character is based on one of Buddha's disciples. The sage is actually the one that named the Monkey King Sun Wukong, and went on to teach him the 72 earthly transformations and a breathing technique that would grant him immortality. The transformation technique allowed him to transform into anything, however his tail would remain. Upon acquiring the abilities from his teacher, Wukong returned to his monkey kingdom and saved his fellow monkeys from the demons who had overtaken. Following this incident, Wukong goes out to seek a weapon that would be suitable for his power and makes his way to the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. Here he acquires the famous weapon Jingle Bang, which weighed 17,550 pounds and could freely change its size according to the will of Wukong. This staff is also seen in Dragon Ball, and it is called the Power Pole. After acquiring his staff, he forces the brothers of the Dragon King to give him magical armor, cloud walking boots, and the Phoenix Cap, boosting his arsenal of weaponry. Wukong's behaviour towards the Dragon King would not go unpunished. During his sleep, agents of hell took his soul to the underworld as punishment for his transgressions. Wukong's power and immortality gained from his breathing techniques made him a powerful foe, forcing the king of the underworld to surrender, allowing Wukong to leave. Before leaving, Wukong removed the names of himself and his monkey disciples from the Book of Life and Death, granting all of them immortality, further increasing the immortality of Wukong. It is also important to note that there are different tiers of immortality according to this mythology, and Wukong at this point is at immortality times 2 essentially. After the ruler of the underworld complained to the Jade Emperor about what had occurred with Wukong, Wukong is invited to heaven so that the Jade Emperor could have more control over him. Eventually, Wukong realizes his role as the protector of horses is essentially as a glorified stable boy. That, coupled with his treatment by the other gods due to him being a monkey, angers Wukong. He releases the horses from the stables and returns to his kingdom in earth and declares himself as the great sage equal to heaven. This is considered Wukong's first act of rebellion against heaven, and demon hunters are sent to subdue him. However, they fail to do so because of Wukong's immense power. To calm him, Wukong is invited back to heaven and given the position as the guardian of the immortal peach grove. But before long, Wukong gives in to his desire to eat the peaches, granting him further immortality. He crashes the banquet held for the other gods that he had not been invited to, prompting the war against Wukong and the heavens. Wukong managed to defeat most of the heavenly warriors, but was eventually captured after fighting the Jade Emperor's nephew, following a fierce battle. The heavens tried to execute him using different methods, however Wukong was too resilient as he had so many tiers of immortality. After surviving their final method of execution, the brazier of 8 trigrams, which was essentially a furnace that was meant to be strong enough to kill all immortals, Buddha had to get involved in the altercation, imprisoning Wukong with his hand for 500 years. Funnily enough, what seemed like the end of Wukong was actually the start of his true journey, and this is where the true book, The Journey to the West, begins. After his 500-year imprisonment, he meets the monk Xuanzang, and they are instructed to go on a journey to the West. If you want me to cover this in depth in another video, let me know. For those of you who want to test your knowledge and how much you've learned during the video, here are some quiz questions for you. So first question is, how was Sun Wukong born? Second, what was the first way Wukong learned immortality? And third, how many transformations does Wukong have? I'll give you all some time to think about it. I'll give you 10 seconds, you can pause the video. Okay, so the answer to the first question is Wukong was born from a stone at the top of a mountain, which had been there since the beginning of creation. The answer for the second question is he learned immortality through his teacher, who taught him a breathing technique. And the last answer is Wukong had 72 transformations, also learned from his teacher that taught him immortality. So how many correct answers did you manage to get? Make sure to put your score in the comment section, but don't put your answers as that could spoil it for future viewers. So this marks the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I enjoyed learning with you guys as usual. And to support the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. And yeah, see you for the next video.